What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 5th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. It is a Tuesday. Time for a little bit of motivation slash positivity. And I feel like this month it's a bonus since we're doing the 25 days of kindness as well as the gift and food drive. But today comes from the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which I told you I read a few weeks ago, and something that really stuck with me, and it builds off of what we had talked about from that book previously. And ultimately, you're responsible for your own actions, and that's what we had talked about before, the difference between fault and responsibility. But taking that a step further, how you choose to respond to traumas, I guess is a good way to call it. That's on you. And that's sort of where sometimes the victim mentality comes into play. And it's like, oh, well, I'm going to have bad luck. That's just the way it is. And he kind of compared it to poker. And I know sometimes people are always like, oh, you just got to play the cards you were dealt. And that's very true in life. You don't necessarily, sometimes there's certain things that are out of your control. But if you think about the best poker players, they're the ones that learn how to bluff. They learn how to sort of know when to borrow Kenny Rogers' line, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And that's a skill. Like you can only, there's guys that win in the World Series of Poker and girls that win in the World Series of Poker. They get 2-3 offsuit and they end up taking the pot that way. So it's a skill, and there's definitely a skill to sort of choosing how to respond and react when things don't necessarily go your way, and when things do go your way, for that matter. It does work both ways. So just something like we kind of choose how to respond, and how we respond determines what the outcome is going to be. And again, you hear people all the time, oh, I got dealt a bad hand in life, or oh, this is going against me. And that, while that might be true, how you play that hand, that's on you. So you can still win with a 2-3 offsuit, and even though somebody else has pocket aces, if you play the hand the right way. So that's just a little something. We'll take it down to the poker analogy today, but just kind of knowing how to play the hand you're dealt, and not choosing to make it like the end of the world, and knowing how to navigate through that, I think is a good way to outlook on life. And just in general, like I said, I mean, it can go both ways, because just because you get pocket aces, you shittily play the hand, you're not going to win. So, and again, it works both ways. So just be cognizant of that as you go through your day and your week this week, and how you choose to respond is going to determine how the outcome is. And again, it's easy. Negativity breeds. It's easy to get negative and start down that downward spiral. But if you stop and play smart, you can get out of it. And that is today's motivation slash positivity for this week. I mentioned the motivation and positivity that we've been doing with the gift and food drive. Got to the end of the week to get those gift cards in, $25 increments to either Target, Walmart, or Amazon. Help make someone's Christmas, and let them, those kids actually enjoy it for $25 too. I mean, a lot of us spend that on one gift for our kids, or half a gift for our kids. So $25. So you can send them, and if you are going to mail them directly to the Mattie Ann Dixon Community Cupboard, if you look where it says donation on there, make sure you're putting the post office box as well, just to make sure they get it and it doesn't get sent back to you. I did talk to them last week or yesterday. We're all set to make the donation of the food on next Friday. So if you want to get that and Amazon it to me, or send it to them directly, or drop it off, they're open. They're overwhelmed by the kindness and generosity that we've had so far. I am as well. So please continue to get those donations in. I want to thank people that, family members and things like that, friends who are way out of the area, like out of state, are still sending things to me to help out. So I truly, truly appreciate your kindness. But let's keep it going. If you're following along at home with the reverse advent calendar, today's today's item is miscellaneous shaped pasta. I guess they get a ton of spaghetti, so they're looking for like ziti noodles, spirals, things like that. So if you have a couple boxes of pasta and you want to add to your donation pile, that would be the way to go. And again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do appreciate all of your help on this. This is amazing, and just thank you. We're making a difference in the community, and ultimately, that to me is what it's all about. I mean, sure, this day in Philly sports history is fun, but being able to sort of just give back and help where possible, and when we can, that to me is better than anything we can do on the podcast. So thank you. Our 25 Days of Kindness is sort of what we did as a precursor to the reverse advent calendar in my house. When we lived in the city, I'd always take the kids. We'd buy usually it was the Tasty Cake tin of cookies, one of each, and have the kids, I mean, they were young, so it's more scribble, but we'd write like a thank you card to the policemen and the firemen and drop it off at the police station as well as the fire station. So today, you don't have to go all out like that, but if you see a policeman or a fireman, just say thank you. I know, especially with some of the climate and culture that's going on in our country today, a lot of these guys often get a bad rep because of a few bad apples. So the ones that are good and doing their job, go thank them, because they do it and it's a thankless job, but I always like to show my appreciation for them. So that's today's act of kindness. Go thank a police officer or a fireman or both. Have your kids send them thank you cards, whatever you need to do, but let them know that we truly appreciate the job that they do. All right, some final thoughts here on that Eagles game. Wrapping up or recapping the question of the day yesterday, I asked, should we be concerned, or is this more of a blip and a one-off thing? And I probably made the mistake the way I worded the question on my social media. I gave 3 options. I said just a blip on the radar, cause for major concern, and wait and see. And honestly, it was pretty split down the middle, all 3. And I kind of think the one-off and the wait and see goes together, because obviously if this is a one-off situation but next week it becomes a 2-off, then you start like, okay, maybe this thing. I don't think it's a cause for concern yet. I mean, they did play the 3 games in 14 days, which is a lot. They were tired, I'm sure, and the teams they were playing were well rested too, and I think that should be overlooked. One of the games went into overtime. One was on Monday night with a lot of hype and emotion that went into it for the Super Bowl rematch. And then you played a team last week that were the 49ers, who were rested and came in with a very big chip on their shoulder, wanting the revenge from last year's NFC Championship game. So I think I'm more in the camp, and I wasn't there yesterday, but I'm there today. Maybe the clarity of everything, but everybody breathe. We're going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. We're still first place in the conference, still best record in the league. It happens to the best of them. 49ers themselves got a couple bad losses this year. Denver gave up 70 points to Miami, and they are in the playoff hunt. So there's ebbs and flows to a season. It's just, I think for us, it's been so long since we've had a loss like this that we're not sure how to respond to it. And I know I was listening somewhat when we were coming back home from basketball, or going to basketball yesterday. The Players Lounge, or whatever 94 calls that show, and Hugh and Ike were on, and they had Landon Dickerson. And they told the story of the Pittsburgh game, the 2004 season, and how they were kind of bought into their own hype and got and if you remember that game, not only did he get the crap beat out of them in Pittsburgh, that was the game that T.O. and Donovan were yelling on the sidelines, and it was like the end of the world. Here we go. This is where it implodes. And I think, to me, it's all about how you respond. And that's what Hugh said. They came out, ironically enough, they had a game in Dallas the next week. Came out, I think it was in Dallas. Either way, it was against Dallas, and they blew them out. It was like 49-14 or 49-21 or something. And it was a get-right spot, and they ended up cruising then the rest of that season. Because there has not been, since Jalen Hurts really took over as a starter, I mean, that first year they got kind of hot late, but there hasn't been the past 2 years, there hasn't been many bad losses, or big losses, I should say. The losses they had were close or without Jalen. So I want to see now how Jalen responds. And I like the fact that Jalen Carter was upset and crying. I like the fact that these Georgia Bulldog players and the players from Alabama who aren't used to losing are pissed off about it. I really, really think that is a good mentality to have. And I really want to see now how they respond. And I think, honestly, as far as going back and looking at some of the X's and the O's on that, I mean, it's not worth it. It's really not worth looking at that game. There's just not much positive there. But I want to see how they respond. I mean, this is like, okay, you just got punched in the mouth. What are you going to do now? How are you going to respond to this? And I think how they come out the first quarter in Dallas is going to tell me a lot about the makeup of this team and whether or not they truly are able to win a Super Bowl this year. I think they're going to bounce back. I think throwing the fact that it's Dallas on top of it all, I think we're in good position for that. And keep in mind, too, even though we haven't played great, they've won enough games to put ourselves in a position where you get a blowout loss like that to the 49ers. And, yeah, the pressure's a little bit on now, but it's not the end of the world right now. So I think we're okay. And, I mean, as far as the Cowboys in the division go, they have a gauntlet coming up. They got Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, and then Washington. The Niners, I mean, their division's always tough. The Seahawks play them tough. They have a game against the Rams, and they also have one against the Ravens. And I think, or they have, yeah, and Washington's the other team for them too. So, I mean, they don't have the easiest schedule either. They're going to definitely drop one or two. The Lions is a team we need to worry about. But again, they still play Minnesota twice and Dallas and Denver, which they've been resurgent. So we're going to be okay. I think, again, there's no use dwelling on that game. We can't bring it back. There's nothing really positive to take from there. I mean, the first quarter, maybe, but, I mean, let's move on. Help is on the way. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but Shaquille Leonard did sign yesterday for a 1-year deal. Definitely could have used him last week. Hopefully he's in shape and can actually play in that game against Dallas. I believe it's a Sunday night game, too. Goddard might be back. He's, I'm sure, going to be looking for some revenge after that cheap shot. And yes, it was a cheap shot, Cowboy fans. So relax. And that's the other thing. I'm amazed at how many Cowboy fans listen to this podcast and don't say anything. All of a sudden, yesterday, I'm getting all kinds of comments and tweets. Like it's kind of funny. It's like, and I hate to say this because Dallas fans from Dallas are great. I've met quite a few of them over my years having tickets. It's the cockroach fans from Pennsylvania that crawl out of the woodwork when they see an opportunity to start talking shit on Eagles fans. And here they come, sure enough. Oh, we them boys, we them. Yeah, get out of here. So we'll see what happens. But it was good to see them back. And it's always fun when they pop out because here they are. They're coming out of a little mid-season hibernation, talk a little trash, and then it's all going to fall apart for them pretty soon. So that's where we stand. Let's turn the page. It is Dallas week. And this is a huge game. Not that it wasn't going to be huge before, but it's a huge game. And I want to see how this team responds. I want to see internally what they're made of. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's go. I'm not talking about the Big Dom story, but I would not be the least bit surprised. I've had a lot of people reach out and say, is Philly Goat going to come out with a Big Dom shirt? I'm sure it's in the works. Like if I know them the way I know, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of Big Dom shirt coming. But be sure you're less than a week away from ordering from Philly Goat and getting it in time for Christmas. So don't wait. Go today. Get whatever shirt you want. I mean, I talked about the Flyers Quakers jersey, which is, I'm very proud of that, by the way. The fact that we inspired a shirt at Philly Goat. I'd like to think we had a little bit of a say in the Mega John shirt because we called for it and we kept wanting it. But they have the Fanatic stuff. You can still, if you're high on the Phillies again, get the Believe shirts. I love those shirts. Like, I think it's just a cool shirt. Anyway, go check them out. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Be sure you put that promo code in, Jim Montgomery, for 10% off. Help yourself out, help me out, help Philly Goat out. And it's amazing how many, even down at the game on Sunday, how many Philly Goat, like it's random, like, because I've looked through their website so many times, like I see a shirt and I'm like, that's a Philly Goat shirt. And it's just, I don't know. It's just great. So go to phillygoat.com, do your holiday shopping, and don't delay, because if you want it for the holiday, you have to do it soon or else you're going to run out of time. So Jim Montgomery, 10% off. All right, so the Sixers news of the day is James Harden kind of had an interview with The Athletic, and I don't think anything really new came out of that other than the fact that he was under the impression that, or he said that Morey promised him he was going to get the max deal, and then because of the trouble they got in before for tampering, that's part of why they weren't talking during the thing. And again, I guess it needs to happen, but who cares at this point? Let's turn the page. Kelly Oubre looks like he's going to be back this week, so let's get things right and see what we have and use those pieces we got for Harden to make the team better. Flyers got a win over the Penguins. Always good to beat our friends out in Pittsburgh. At least I have friends out in Pittsburgh. It's because I work with so many of them. But always good to beat the Penguins. 2-1 in overtime. The Flyers won. The Phillies extended Rob Thompson through 2025. I think that's more of just like a symbolic thing. Like, okay, you're not going to be a lame duck. But I like Topper, and we'll see what they have in store. All right, today we're going to go back to 1998. And on this day in 1998, it was the 99th Army-Navy game at the Vet. Army had just taken a 31-30 lead on a 70-yard touchdown run, went for two, and the conversion failed. CBS, when they cut to commercial, as they always do, they get the crowd, like they tell you to be like, act crazy. I've been on there for Temple basketball a couple times. But as CBS was going to commercial, they went to the Army crowd, and they were all cheering and everything. Unfortunately, the railing at the Vet broke. Everyone fell like 15 feet. They had to delay the game 31 minutes. I believe, if I remember correctly, and I couldn't find this anywhere, I guess I could have looked in subsequent days, but I believe there were only two major injuries. Everybody else was more scrapes and bruises and sprains and things like that. But it was a black eye for the city and the Vet, as if at that point that it could get any worse. For at the time, like Philly sports in general, the city of Philadelphia, the Vet, it was just everything. It was just, that was the height, I feel, of Negadelphia. But it was bad, and it would get worse for the Vet, believe it or not, before they finally tore it down. Army would go on to win the game 34-30, but this whole railing fiasco when it fell was one of the factors that helped lead to the construction of the link in Citizens Bank Park. But it just was, I remember vividly because I was at Temple at the time, and it was not a good time, and it just because then CBS kept showing it, and all you kept seeing, like I can watch the replays of it, like the railing and like all those guys and girls just falling. But on this day, back in 1998, it was the 99th Army-Navy game. Army won 34-30, which is like a ridiculous high-scoring game for an Army-Navy game. Now they're all like, you take the under just because. But the game was marred because the railing at the Vet broke, sending a few people to the hospital and a couple major injuries. Ultimately, one of the deciding factors, or one of the factors that led to construction of both Citizens Bank Park and Lincoln Financial Field. All right. I mentioned Temple. We're going to go to the Philly Sports Advent calendar today, and as we open up the door and take out the gift, it's the 2000-2001 Temple men's basketball team. And everybody knows the 87-88, the 90-91, 92-93, the 98-99 Temple teams. You're talking like the Mark Macon teams, the Aaron McKee and Eddie Jones team, the Pepe Sanchez team that got upset by Ty Shine. But often overlooked, or the 98-99 team lost to Duke in the Elite Eight, but everybody knows that Pepe Sanchez team. But of John Chaney's Elite Eight teams, this 2000-2001 team was probably the most improbable run. This was the year after the Ty Shine fiasco up in Buffalo. That team, I will go to my grave saying that team was a Final Four team. And if never mind. This is about the 2000-2001. But this year, the Pepe, Lamont Barnes, Mark Karcher, Keaton Sanders all graduated. So it was basically Lynn Greer and Quincy Wadley were running this team. And things started off good. I remember it's my senior year. They started off 4-0 and then lost 7 straight games. At one point, though, during that 4-game win streak to open the season, they got ranked as high as number 17. Then they went on a 6-game winning streak. And then they rolled in the A10 to a 12-4 A10 record. When they beat UMass on February 17th, they went on a run and wouldn't lose until the end. But they rolled through, got into the A10 tournament, beat UMass in the championship, which was huge because they were a bubble team. And going into the tournament, I think they were like 15-13 or something, like whatever it was. They weren't probably getting into the tournament unless they won the Atlantic 10, which they did. They got into the NCAA tournament, got an 11 seed, which was the lowest seed of any of John Chaney's Elite 8 teams. Once they got into the tournament, John Chaney did John Chaney things. I always felt he was better when his teams were the underdogs than when he came in as the favorite. But they came in, beat number 18 Texas, number 8 Florida. Then they beat Penn State in the Sweet 16 that year. The Penn State was really good. What was it? Crispin, I think, was the guy that played for Penn State. But I remember watching that game. They beat them. And then they got that win streak up to 10 games. And then they played Michigan State in the Elite 8. I remember I quit my job at Houlihan's up on City Line Avenue to watch the game at the Draft Horse because I was not going to miss this game. I feel it's like, all right, maybe this is the one that they finally breaks through. They played them tough, and that was when Tom Izzo really had Michigan State playing well, and they would always play each other a lot in the regular season back then, so the teams knew each other, and Michigan State won 69-62. Unfortunately, it was the last time John Chaney made the tournament, but that team went 24-13. Lynn Greer averaged 18 a game. Kevin Lyde almost a double-double. Just a fun team. An unexpected run, too. Like I said, once they dropped 7 straight, I think we were all like, all right, here we go. But that is our gift to you today for the Philly Sports Advent Calendar. The 2000-2001 Temple Owls Elite 8 team often gets overlooked because they came after that team that was number 2. But one of the most improbable and I would say underrated teams that John Chaney took to the Elite 8. And I think that the fact that was his final NCAA tournament run and the fact that it was probably the team that shouldn't even have made it, like the fact that they won 10 straight and rolled through the A10 tournament and then they got hot. And that's one of those things. It would have been a great story, but alas, it was not meant to be. So today's Philly Sports Advent Calendar gift is inspiring today's question of the day. Today's question of the day: of the other teams that John Chaney came close to taking to the Final Four, which one had the best shot of winning? Which one was the best of the bunch? Was it the 87-88 team that was the number 1 team in the country, rolled through the A10 and lost to Duke? Was it the 90-91 team that lost to UNC as the 10 seed? Was it the 92-93 team that was the 7 seed, lost to the Fab Five? Or was it that 98-99 team that ultimately lost to Duke in the Elite 8? It's tough for me to pick. I mean, I think it's hard to bet against the Mark Macon team. But I think you can make the argument for the 2 Aaron Jones, Eddie McKee teams, and even that first Pepe Sanchez, Lamont Barnes, that crew. But let me know which Temple basketball team had the best shot of winning and going to the Final Four: the 87-88, the 90-91, 92-93, or 99-2000. Let me know wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit me up on social media, Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok, Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Hit me up on Facebook, wherever you got to go. just curious, a little Temple basketball today, back reliving the glory days. Which one of the other Elite Eight teams was the best? 87-88, 90-91, 92-93, or 99-2000? Let me know. I'm sorry, it wasn't 99-2000, 98-99. The 98-99 team was that one. The 99-2000 team, unfortunately, was that Ty Shine year. But on this day, back in 1998, the Army-Navy game took place at the Vet, where it was best remembered for the railing collapsing and hurting all of those people. It's a new day, Eagles fans. Let's turn the page and move on. Let's see how this team responds, and then we'll go from there. If we had a similar output from if the output is similar this week as it was last week, then I think it's time for concern. Be sure to get your donations in for the Matty Ann Dixon Community Cupboard. Friday is the last day they can take the gift cards, so be sure to figure that out. Today's item is miscellaneous shaped pasta. Let's continue to get them in. If you want to send me the stuff here through Amazon, hit me up offline and I'll give you my number. Remember, you get to choose how you respond to your traumas and the events in your life, and how you play that hand is going to determine the outcome. You can win with an offsuit 2-3. You can lose with pocket aces. It's all how you play it. I am Jim Montgomery. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. Go have yourselves a Tuesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.